Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris, and this is our official LEGO Masters set. And I cannot wait to jump into a review of the set right now. Of course, for those just catching up, Robert and I won LEGO Masters Season 4 back in December of last year, and part of the prize was that our final build, the World Wonderliner, would be converted into an actual set. Well, the LEGO designers have gone in a really interesting direction for it, taking the central idea behind our love of travel and our want to reunite and bring families together into travel, and taking that World Wonderliner and transplanting it onto a massive world map, which you can not only hang on the side of the wall and put postcards in these particular postcard holder slots, but you can also display it completely flat, and there are some little smaller vehicles to go around the world map as well. This is part of a new theme initiative called Build Together, where up to 5 people can build the set at once, and well, let's jump into my review right now. I want to kick off this review by just saying a big thank you and congratulations to the legendary LEGO design team of Boone, Langston, and Samuel Johnson, who took the initial idea of our passion for travel and saw the images of the World Wonderliner from our finale build and basically came up with the entire idea for the set, transforming it into not just a plane but also a map and all of the associated details that come with it. They are truly responsible for every single aspect of the design of this model, and I really absolutely want them to get the credit that they deserve for making this a reality. Honestly, Robert and I were just so happy and proud to be along for the ride and incredibly grateful for this super cool opportunity, and if you want to learn more about how a set like this actually gets designed, go ahead and check out my video on designing this LEGO set with the LEGO design team in Billund, Denmark. But now, let's jump into the review of Family Travel Moments. Okay, so this is set number 41838, also known as Family Travel Moments. It is the first ever set based off of a LEGO Masters final build, and well, not just any LEGO Masters final build, but the World Wonderliner designed by myself and Robert during the Season 4 finale of LEGO Masters USA. This set has 1,321 pieces and will be retailing for around $150 depending on your region, and comes with a lot of different items that you can use. A world map which you can display face down or on the wall, as well as multiple different smaller scale vehicles all in the color scheme of the World Wonderliner. A very scaled down version of our final build from the show, as well as postcard and picture holders on the back of the set, and for the first time ever, this set actually comes with not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 brick separators, because the entire point of the set is that you can actually build it together with 5 different people, meaning a pretty large size family can all sit together and build a different part of the set and then bring it all together for one grand conclusion at the end. Obviously, this set means a lot to me, both on a personal level but also as a LEGO collector level, because not only was this a set directly based off of an idea that I was able to build with Robert during the show, but it also is a set that is one of its kind, representing the launch of a brand new LEGO theme, in which case this theme is based around families building together, which is really interesting because some LEGO sets have already included the functionality for families or groups to come together and build it as one, but this is really the first set designed to be made by multiple people all at once, which I think is really special, and that's really what LEGO Masters is all about. People coming together and sharing their passion for building in one environment, so I feel like this is kind of the perfect set to launch a theme like this. Now, for this set, I'll be diving into some of the different ways that you can display it, as well as some of the exclusive elements included in the set, but for the first time, I actually do want to focus on the instructions to start. I typically don't cover instructions in reviews, but, well, this one had to be a bit of an exception, because, for one, if you go into the instructions, and this is still so surreal, you can see a very tired and sleep-deprived Duck Bricks on the back there. This photograph was actually taken literally minutes after finishing our 24-hour build of the World Wonderliner, a massive 8-foot by 8-foot plane that served as Robert and I's final build for LEGO Masters. And obviously, this photo right here represents a lot of memories and a lot of flashbacks, and just looking at this photo just gives me so much nostalgia for that time in my life when I was on the show, and I definitely wouldn't trade it for anything. We absolutely look so exhausted here, but you know what? That really captures the memory of being on the show and literally going down to the last second, putting those pieces down at the bottom of the plane. Oh my goodness, this is just bringing back a ton of memories right here. Now, what's super cool is that the instruction manual actually mentions that this was for LEGO Masters US, where the Season 4 winning team, myself and Robert, created some truly spectacular builds, and as part of the grand prize, we got to work with Samuel Johnson and Boone to turn our winning World Wonderliner into this real-life LEGO set, which is really cool, and I'll have a lot more thoughts to share on that design process later on. Now here you can see a bit of a behind-the-scenes look of our trip to Billund, Denmark, LEGO headquarters last year, where we were working with Boone and Samuel when we were taking a look at the prototypes of the set and being shown all the different things that you could do with the set itself, which I thought was super cool. You can even see one of the prototypes, or a couple of them actually, in the back there, so it's really cool how those kind of snuck their way in. And of course, as you can see, it says that if you're a fan of LEGO Masters, there are key elements inspired by the Season 4 finale model, and we all work together to tell the story behind our winning build in a new way. And with that, I think it's probably time to just dive a little bit deeper into the model itself. There's a little bit more that you can see on the back of the instructions in terms of what you can do, kind of using it as a scrapbook of sorts by putting in little photos or postcards or memories into the sides of the actual pieces on the back there itself, but we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, so let's go ahead and jump on in and take a look at the actual set Family Travel Moments. So before we actually jump into my review of the set, I do obviously have to caveat that, yes, I am a little biased here when I do give a review because this set is something that is personally so meaningful to me, but I will do my best to give as much of an unbiased take on the set as I can and share a little bit of thoughts on how I feel about the design of the set and the process of making it itself. Now, this is actually a really interesting one because when we first were told about the concept of the set, it was actually really interesting because I was absolutely not expecting it to go in this particular direction. When we initially heard that our set was going to be based off of the World Wonderliner, I was expecting something akin to maybe the larger LEGO Boeing set that we got back in the day, or maybe something like the Concorde in terms of a gigantic plane, but they rightfully so said that this set was supposed to be something a little bit more special, and the way it was explained to us, which I really do agree with and I actually really appreciate now, is that not only is this a set that represents our final build, but it also is a set that represents the spirit of LEGO Masters. And what is the spirit of LEGO Masters? Well, it's people coming together to build something. And our final build was all about travel. Whether it was families traveling together or friends traveling together, no matter what it was, everything was about getting a chance to learn new cultures, go around the world, and experience new things, and that's why they decided to go in a pretty interesting, different direction for the build. When we first saw some initial sketches of this, it was super cool seeing them take the concept of travel and just spinning it into a completely different idea than we had initially envisioned. Taking a concept of shrinking down the World Wonderliner to an almost micro-scale look and feel, and then using the rest of the bricks and budget of the set to actually make a large-scale world map was a really interesting choice for the designers to go to, and Robert and I were absolutely thrilled to see the final thing in Billund, Denmark. Of course, more on that later in a separate video if I haven't published the video already, because there's a lot more that I have to share about the details of what went into the design process of this, but suffice to say that after a ton of Zoom meetings and then finally going to Billund and being presented with the final model ourselves by Boone and Samuel, it was a total dream come true. So, moving aside from the development of the set and actually going into what you can do with the set itself, I really want to emphasize just how the set actually comes together, because it's quite interesting. Obviously, as we mentioned at the start of the review, there are 5 different instruction manuals for the set itself, and because of that, the world itself is divided up into 4 individual quadrants, and then the final one is used to make the plane. Moving on to the back here, you will see a surprisingly colorful backside, and this was also our first hands-on introduction to the new orange, by the way, last September when we were designing this, which was absolutely mind-blowing to me. But as you can see here, This is an absolute cornucopia of different LEGO colors, and the entire thing is to make it easily color-coded and accessible for people to understand how to build each individual quadrant as its own thing. That way, multiple different people can take the instruction manuals and work together to build the quadrants and then push them all together in one final display, which is actually something that we got to do, which was so much fun. Of course, getting into the details of the structure of the set, the structure is fairly simple. There's not a ton going on in terms of the Technic structure. It is fairly self-explanatory, but one thing that I do really want to call out is that they used a ton of these 6x8 Technic frames, which were actually crucial to build the structure of the wings and the interior of the plane on not just our final build, but pretty much the structure of every single one of our builds on LEGO Masters. So when we actually were putting the set together for the first time, this was quite a flash of nostalgia seeing these pieces tumble out of the box, and if there was one piece I would say had to be included in our LEGO Masters set, it was this one, because this came in handy a ton of times on the show, so I just thought it was really cool to be able to see that here. Of course, you do have the LEGO Art Mosaic wall-mounted pieces integrated into the build, so you do have the option to mount this on your wall, and I'll actually be doing a separate video later on of some of the different ways that you can display this in your home, so I'm really looking forward to that. But otherwise, this is what the backside of the model looks like, and then of course we have the world map on the front. Now we'll be getting a closer look at some of these special exclusive printed elements in a second, but to kind of zoom in on the details of the map itself. Obviously they took the initial LEGO Ideas globe as inspiration when designing the set, but really went in their own direction for the actual build, and they first took, in terms of designing it, they first took the idea behind the globe itself, but then later just decided to make it a little bit more fleshed out 2D wise. There was a lot more detail that could be packed in as compared to the spherical globe, and I'm actually really happy with how a lot of the places have been depicted. Europe in particular is a really difficult shape to depict, especially at a scale like this, and I feel like they really were able to pull off quite a nice looking shape that is instantly recognizable as Europe, and you can actually pinpoint individual places to go to, and we'll get to that later on. Of course, Asia, Africa, the US, South America, all that, North America, South America, Antarctica, all the different continents, as well as Australia, are displayed here, and it is really nice seeing the different shades of colors that they use to depict some of the types of kind of seen from space land here. So you have a lot of the tan elements being used for the desert area here, and then you have some parts of the desert here, but then some more green areas. Of course, white being used for the icy areas, and I really do appreciate just the amount of detail that went into actually creating a buildable world map like this. Despite the fact that we have gotten quite a few world map based LEGO sets already, we got the LEGO Art World Map Mosaic as well as the globe, this feels completely different because, for one, the entire thing is an oval, actually making it feel kind of like an old-timey map, but also every single surface is studded, and there is both a form and a function reason for that. Aesthetically, this is a real nice celebration of the LEGO stud, and really acts as a beautiful wall-mounted art piece in your home where you can really see that yes, it is built out of LEGO, but it is the world map. But second of all, this set actually introduced a number of exclusive printed elements which you can use to mark places in the world that you've been to, which is actually really cool. The set does include spares of all of the elements, so thankfully there were 2 copies of the home printed piece included, even though there technically should be 1. So I personally was able to mark my 2 homes, one in New York and one where I'm from, Seattle, Washington. So it's kind of cool being able to put like my 2 homes on the board because it does come with spare pieces, but the rest of them are marked by these suitcase elements as well as the camera elements here, which obviously are meant to signify your travels. And you can kind of decide whatever you want these to signify. There isn't really obviously a set way to play with it, but I tried to signify it as obviously the camera locations are places where I saw something super memorable, and the suitcase locations were some of the places that I visited for the first time going to that country. So I really tried to kind of divide them up in a way that made sense to me internally. Of course, had to put some over in Billund, Denmark in the Scandinavian area. I do love visiting London, so had to put one over there. Of course, all over Italy, and I even marked some of the places I visited in Africa and Asia here. So Asia, you've got like Korea, Japan, the Philippines, as well as over here in kind of the Middle East area, I marked Dubai as well as Africa, some of the most memorable trips that I've been on, and then even some cruises to the Bahamas over here. I have a lot of of friends who live in Florida, so of course I had to put a photo mark there, and even visiting Mexico at one trip. So lots and lots of different trips. Each one of these markings I actually placed in a meaning that was significant to me personally. And that's really the point of the entire set, is that you can actually place these markings on places that you personally have visited. And now I kind of want to buy more of these individual pieces when they inevitably appear on Pick-a-Brick, because this can't be it. I will always be visiting more places, and hopefully in a few years this entire map is going to be covered up by places I visited. But this map is actually only one of the many things that you can do with the set, because obviously there is an option to display it flat on the ground as well, and that's where these elements come in. These black pieces right here are actually recolored exclusively for this set for now, and they actually originate from some LEGO Dots and LEGO promotional sets because they are poster or paper hanging pieces or mounting pieces. So it's quite interesting to be able to see them recolor these in a more classy color for the set. Previously, they were only available in like a bright orange, which I think is cool, but also definitely limits some of the displayability of it. And again, the entire point of these is you're supposed to be able to slip little images or postcards into it, which we'll be taking a look at for an example near the end of this review. One thing I think is really cool is that you can obviously angle these however which way that you want. So you can angle them front or back, you can choose how you want to twist it, and you can always just bend them back and forth. These ones are actually mounted on Mixel or mini ball joints, so you can actually get a pretty wide array of different photos that you can mount up with these particular photo holders here, and I think it's a really nice touch. Of course, if you choose to not want to display these particular elements when you actually have the map mounted, it is very, very easy to just simply remove this entire bar. It is meant to come off, and there you have it. It's just good to go, and you just have the map by itself, which I think is a really nice touch. One extra special thing that you can even do with the stand of the airplane, which you're going to get to in a little bit, is you can notice that there are a couple of axle connectors on there as well. And the entire point of those particular axle connectors is that, for one, you can see that there is something a little bit special hiding inside the base there. Of course, more on that later, but you can also use those axle connectors to connect this up to some of the axles included in the set here to just increase more displayability options. If you want to have the plane stand, say, sticking out of the back, you can just remove the wall hanging pieces and stick it on the back axles here. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it, and with that, let's take a look at the vehicles. So these are the 5 vehicles included in the set, and one thing that I thought was really, really cool, and just kind of a random idea that I believe it was Boone's idea to include these, was that why don't we actually depict different forms of transportation in the set itself, all using the original color scheme of the World Wonderliner, and well, that's exactly what we did. So basically, obviously you have the World Wonderliner here, which was the actual plane that we were able to use and build in the show, just scaled down by a lot, but also we have all of these different types of transportation icons that you can see all feature the color scheme of the Wonderliner. You've got a train or a tram here, you have a cruise ship, you have a little car with kind of a trailer in the back, and then you have a little camper van or bus. You can kind of choose to interpret these however you want, but they're all different ways that folks love to travel, whether you want to take a road trip or go on a cruise or take a plane. This is a really cool representation of some of the different modes of transportation, and my favorite detail is that when it came to the color scheme of these models, as you can see, they were able to integrate the coral wheels. This is actually due to a very last-minute decision that we made on LEGO Masters, that literally we were like, hey, why don't we put text that says World Wonderliner on the side of our plane, and what's the most striking color we can use? Well, vibrant coral is a really striking color. That was literally placed on by Robert at the last hour, or maybe even the last 30 minutes. We decided to put this lettering on the side of the plane, and now it's actually influenced a major part of the set itself, which is so crazy how stuff like that works out. Of course, for me, the big focus is the plane, and the plane is very, very swooshable. It kind of reminds me of some of the older LEGO promotional planes that we would get as part of airline gifts back in the day. It kind of has that almost vintage or nostalgic style of feel or design to it, while still using some of the newest LEGO pieces and techniques. One of my favorite parts included here is this 1x2 quote-unquote bread loaf piece that they also use in Minecraft and Tan as a loaf of bread, so it kind of makes sense there. But this is actually a piece that attaches the wings at a fixed angle, and it is done really nicely. It's very seamless in the way that it's done, and I was really impressed by that integration into the set itself. Of course, on the bottom here, you can see that they've actually recolored these 1x3 slope elements in blue, which is always good to see new recolors and color swaps being integrated, especially into a set like this. And speaking of recolors and color swaps, did I mention there are no stickers in this set? Every single one of these decals is printed, and these are actually metallic blue, so the windows are metallic blue, which is really nice. These are all printed on the 1x4 curved elements, and they even have the World Wonderliner text on it in the same fashion that we did, that Robert and I were able to design on the final build for LEGO Masters, utilizing the LEGO Dots pieces we had available. So it's really cool seeing that shrunken down into a smaller scale, and of course, they were even able to make improvements to our original plane design. When talking to the designers about things we wanted to include on our plane, I mentioned that we really wanted to include engines on our final build, as well as a back fin, but we just kind of ran out of time, so we didn't actually get to do it. Well, you know what? The designers of this set were able to factor in the engines and the back fin, which I guess when I'm talking about it as purely like a LEGO model, yes, it totally makes sense they put those into a LEGO build, but for me, I'm like, oh wow, this is something we wanted to include but didn't get a chance to, and I'm very happy seeing the design finally get quote-unquote finished with the final version of the World Wonderliner here. This is such a cool plane, and I'm super excited to actually be able to like hang this from my ceiling. I'll probably wall mount a second copy of it as well, and of course stay tuned for future videos on my ideas on how you can actually display this in your homes coming out very soon. But the plane itself also comes with a really nice posable stand, which I think is one of the coolest aspects of the build. Let me just get it actually mounted on a place where it's going to stand up okay, but the stand is actually utilizing the relatively new LEGO Dreams ratchet joint connector, which they use for large action figure builds, and that means that you can actually display it angled upwards or downwards. You can have it at a pretty significant angle as well, like you can really get it like a rocket ship taking off, so to speak. So there's a lot of different things you can do with it, and of course you can spin it all the way around because it is just mounted on a Technic pin, so you have your option to position the plane however you want. But removing the plane from the stand, I actually want to call out a little bit of an Easter egg inside the stand. So turn away now if you are expecting to get some surprises in the set, but for those who do not care about getting quote-unquote spoiled on the build, if you remove the platform here, you have some pretty nice unique LEGO pieces included inside the build itself. First off, you have the printed globe piece, which is one of my favorite pieces. I ordered literally dozens of these off of Bricks and Pieces when it was still called that, and now Pick-a-Brick. So I really love getting that globe piece in the set. You also have a camera, you've got a little suitcase, a compass, and what's super special to me is that you actually have a copy of a transparent opalescent satin 2x4 brick. Now this is actually not a new piece, but this piece has so far only been included in one set. It was a LEGO Classic Brick Box set that came out last year. Very obscure element, and just kind of a one-off thing they produced for that set in satin, and I figured, you know what, why not actually include that in the set? Or well, this was actually all Boone's choice. He told us the story of how they included that in this. He was kind of going through their part catalog, was walking by, saw this brick, and said, oh, that's pretty cool, why don't we include it in the set? And I am very happy they did, because this is a really cool piece. Obviously the 2x4 brick is an icon of the LEGO group, and so seeing that in person in the set was very cool. So now, let's go ahead and close that up here and just do a final look at my closing thoughts on the model and my honest opinions on whether this model is worth the $150 price tag. Of course, a very crucial part of this set is the ability to put in your own travel moments and memories into the set itself, with the addition of the photo frame and connector elements. And so I decided to do something a little bit special for my copy, given that this is a set that is entrenched in memories about LEGO Masters. I decided to use some official stills from the finale, as well as just some memories of myself and Robert in the LEGO collection to showcase on the back here. And I feel like it really does complete the set and tie everything together. Of course, depending on the size of photo you use, there are some photos that will look better than others, and definitely some sizes that will work better than others. I tried to keep everything around the same size, but unfortunately that meant that many photos were just kind of completely covered up. But thankfully, again, you do have the option to bend things back and forth, so there are a lot of different things you can actually do with it. To me, this feels like the best way to fully display everything, because it really is just a possible way to add a ton of memories for travel and whatever memories are special to you to the model itself. if you're curious what these look like actually fully mounted backwards, well, that potential is there too. If you were to wall mount this, you can actually just bend every single item back just like so. It's super simple how that works, and all of them are on click joints as well as these special mixel joints and mini ball joints, so it is actually really easy to just fold everything back and angle them in the ways that you want. And actually that honestly kind of works out even better for me because it just allows me to have a little bit more space and addition to move these memories and these bits and pieces to just kind of showcase all the different memories all together. All in all, I think that is a really special function that this set does have that is kind of unlike a lot of other LEGO sets, where you actually have the ability to customize it with your own photos. It's not something that everybody is going to do with their own copy of the set, and that's completely understandable, and that's why they actually have the option to remove the photo stands, but I personally think it is a really nice touch and something that does add a lot of extra character and life to the build itself. But now, let's zoom outwards and talk about my closing thoughts on this build. And so, that about sums up my look at my own LEGO set, or I guess in some ways my own, although obviously this represents the work of so many other people besides just myself and Robert, and to be completely frank, we had not a ton to do with the design of the set. The design was made by very talented designers working at the LEGO group, similar to LEGO Ideas, where you submit an idea and they basically take your idea and refine it into an official LEGO set. So all the credit for this build, for this model, for even the idea behind this set, totally goes to Boone and Samuel. I really want to commend them for the incredible work that they did and say thank you for bringing our set to life. And I'm just so humbled and grateful and happy to have been a small part of making a brand new LEGO set, and of course, even getting a little feature in the instructions too. But what do I think about the set as a whole? Honest opinions, I think that this makes for a really nice display model for fans of LEGO who also want to display their love for travel in their homes. I think the world map is a really nice map to display, and arguably, maybe I'm a little biased here, but I kind of like it a little better than the previous world map mosaic that they did, mostly because it is just more of an engaging build. You have the added functionality of being able to bring the quadrants of the world together, as well as mark your own landmarks on it, and you also just get to use all sorts of different plates and wedge pieces instead of just single 1x1 studs. So I definitely like this a lot better as a LEGO build than the previous world map mosaic they did, and I think the size is pretty good as well. Now in terms of the price, $150 for around 1,321 pieces is, I think, relatively fair, especially considering the amount of new printed elements you get in the set. You get the new printed pieces for the airplane, you also get the printed pieces for the 1x1 tiles, and of course you get the map and the vehicles, and even these color changed photo attachments, plus the color changed underside of the plane here. Of course, would I have preferred this to be closer to, say, $120 or $130? I definitely feel that objectively, I feel like for a standard LEGO set, maybe I would have expected it to be just a little bit cheaper, but $150 is definitely within the realm of reasonability in my honest opinion, and I definitely would love to hear what you think in the comments as well. Is this a set you're going to be picking up now that it just released yesterday on August 1st? And I hope you enjoyed our in-depth look at the official LEGO Masters World Wonderliner inspired set build family travel moments. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to tune in for even more reviews. I'll see you next time on the World Wonderliner. Alright, and with that, we have summed up my review of my own set, which is kind of strange, but again, this is not really just my set or myself and Robert's set. This set was really created by a team of incredibly talented designers in Billund who were actually shouted out in the instructions with our photos. Big shout out to Samuel and Boone, some of the most perfect designers to actually cover this, and I'm very thankful to them for bringing us on this incredible journey to actually having a LEGO set on store shelves. You can pick this up August 1st of this year. I hope you enjoyed my review, and thanks so much for watching. Bye for now. The LEGO Travel Moment set is available now from lego.com/LEGO Masters or LEGO stores.